So it's time for a new episode of 2 Minute Tuesday, and this week we're going to have a quick look at a few things for the cost of living that we have here in Spain compared to say the UK. So what I've done is we've selected this area for the prices here, and I've selected Nottingham in the UK and used that as a comparison for the prices that we have here. So welcome to this week's episode of 2 Minute Tuesday, where we do a really quick, very simple cost comparison for the cost of living between the two areas. Welcome to this week's episode of 2 Minute Tuesday. Now, I've also used a really interesting website called Numbeo.com, Numbeo.com, and this is a really good website to use for checking out prices, cost comparisons, things like this. So I'll leave a link in the description, but also check that out if you want to see some comparisons yourself. So if you're thinking of moving to Spain, you can see what the prices are in the area that you live in and then see what the prices are where we are. And it's really good for a comparison between the two areas. And before anybody comments that they can find a pint of beer cheaper where they are, we realise that there's a big range. So what we've done is we've gone for the average price. So we know that we can buy a cheaper pint here or a more expensive pint there. It depends where you go. So we've always looked at the average prices in order to do this comparison. Okay, we're going to kick off with something that is always used when people are comparing or looking at the cost of living, and that's the price of a litre of fuel. So we've done all of these prices. We decided we were going to set a date and then see what the prices were on this particular date. So the date we used was Friday, August the 11th. And that was the date that we looked at the average prices for everything. So fuel as an example. So here in the Costa Blanca, the cost of a litre of petrol is €1.60, and that compares to €2.04 in the UK, and it's €1.47 for a litre of diesel here in the Hondon Valley, and the average price in Nottingham on August the 11th was €2.10. So really it equates as an average of about a 20% difference in the cost of fuel. So if you thought that your car could go 20% further or your car could be 20% more efficient, you would obviously jump at that. So the fuel saving here is quite a bit. So something worth thinking about. Now, the Costa Blanca is obviously renowned for lots and lots of fresh food. It's a bit of a foodie's paradise because we have access to so much fresh food here on our doorstep. One thing that we have found when we've been doing comparisons is that the costs of food from the supermarket are actually very, very similar. And in some cases, it's actually cheaper in the UK than it is here in Spain. And I think a lot of this is to do with the huge power that the supermarkets exert over the farmers and things like that. One thing that I think that's worth bearing in consideration, that even though that the prices may be similar, is that the food that generally we buy in the market here in the village on a Wednesday or a Saturday morning has probably travelled an average of 10 kilometres from the field to the store and then a couple of kilometres to get it home, whereas maybe in the north of Europe it could have travelled 1,000 or more kilometres in order to get to you, and maybe it was picked before it was ripe so that it could ripen on the journey or ripen on the shelves in the supermarket, when it could probably have done with spending another week or so on the tree itself. So although the food prices in supermarkets are fairly similar, maybe as a consumer you should look at the quality of what you're getting and see whether that's as similar as the price would lead you to believe. Now, staying on the topic of food, we could go to a restaurant, and of course, you know, it's very subjective depending on the kind of restaurant that you go to. Here we can have a menu del dia, which is a menu of the day in a restaurant for 10, 11, 12 euros. That starts with a big bowl of salad, 3-course meal, a glass of wine or beer, and maybe a coffee for 10, 11, 12 euros. However, we've looked at the cost of an average 3-course meal per person in the UK and here in Hondon, and basically it's about 25 euros per person here. So for a couple, about 50 euros to go out for a nice 3-course evening meal, and in the UK it's more likely to be 50 euros per person. So a huge saving when it comes to going out for a meal. So obviously if you're going out for a meal, you're probably going to have a drink with your meal. So a bottle of wine. So let's have a look at the figures that we got here. So a bottle of wine, the average cost of a bottle of wine in Spain, if you buy it in a supermarket, is between €3.50 and €5. And if you're in a restaurant, between €5 and €10. In the UK, the average cost of a bottle of wine in a supermarket is between €5 and €8. And if you're drinking a bottle of wine in a restaurant, you're paying between 15 and €20 for an average bottle of wine. So quite a difference there. Also, let's have a look in case you want a pint of beer. The average cost of a pint of beer in the UK on August the 11th is €4 and 25 cents. I think it was £2 a pint when I left the UK, so quite a difference. And so €4.25 in the UK for a pint of lager beer, and in Spain it's €2.50 for the same beer. Things like Coca-Cola and Pepsi are roughly the same price, just a few euro cents difference. And as I said before, wine is roughly double the price. So when you go for a meal, you not only is the food going to be a different price, but also your beverages are going to be considerably different. The next thing that I thought we'd have a look at, and just to finish off, and completely different from beer or a kilo of tomatoes, let's have a look at a car, whether a car is going to be cheaper for you here when you move to Spain. So what I did is I went onto the Ford website. One of the most popular cars in the UK and Spain is the Ford Puma, which actually, I believe it's made in Valencia, just up the road. So I've looked at the Ford Puma ST line, with it being one of the most popular cars. And actually the trend here of prices being cheaper in Spain than in the UK is slightly different. So the Ford Puma on the Ford website, without applying any discounts or what have you, the list price is actually €3,000 cheaper in the UK than it is here in Spain, which was quite surprising. But I think people generally believe that cars here are more expensive. The difference comes when you come to trade your car in after 3 years with the residual value. And at the end of a 3-year period, when you come to sell your car, you're actually going to be €3,000 better off. So a €6,000 swing in the resale price of a car. And it's because cars here keep their value incredibly well. People tend to keep the cars longer, and so after 3 years, the price of a car is fairly similar to what it was when you bought it. So prices really don't depreciate a huge amount here in Spain, whereas maybe you'll find that they will in the UK. So that really is a very quick look at a few cheap little items, and obviously one very expensive item, just to give you a little price comparison between what's available here in Spain price-wise and maybe an area that you're familiar with in the UK. Obviously we could have picked thousands and thousands of different things, and so really we were just cherry picking, and I'm sure if you looked hard enough and long enough you would find many things cheaper in the UK than maybe they are here in Spain. I think one of the things that people generally agree is cheaper when you go to the big shopping centres is that a lot of the clothes in the UK are cheaper than maybe they are here in Spain. So that's something that we could look at maybe in the future. But really it's just quite a quick short episode, something different from the usual, speaking about taxes and paperwork and things that we often find ourselves talking about on here. We'll have another episode for you in a couple of weeks' time. So if you have any questions, drop me a line. My details will be on the screen at the moment. And until we have the next episode, thank you for your time, and we look forward to seeing you then. Adios.